A blessed good morning to you, wonderful viewers. It's a privilege to be with you on this Saturday morning. Call up your friend and neighbor and let them know that the Honorable Nima Flue-Bess is here this morning to share with you, as usual, our weekly engagements. There's quite a lot to talk about today, and of course, we would want to continue educating and informing people of the many things that are happening in and around our country. So again, I want to encourage you to call up a friend and neighbor and help them to join the live. Feel free to share your comments on the topics that will be discussed today and all the hot issues that continue to affect our people. As usual, I would like to start with a quote to begin the day. Growth is painful. Change is painful, but nothing is as painful as remaining mentally enslaved. Let me share this again. Growth is painful. Change is painful, but nothing is as painful as remaining mentally enslaved. When I got this message this morning, I smiled because it's so much to ponder on. We see when issues are spoken about that affects the lives of Guyanese every single day. There are those who are living, I don't know if they're living in the current day or they're living way back in the past with the things that they would say, with the reasons that they would give to defend wrongdoings. And so this quote, very timely, when we think about being mentally enslaved, where you can operate as though nothing is bothering people are not being marginalized, people are not being victimized, and you see it as nothing is happening, that speaks volume. A lot of people probably tune out into their own corners. So when things like that happen, it causes you to ponder. So this morning again, if there is nothing more painful than being mentally enslaved. You know, we're having a lot going on. So I'm going to start with the woman warrior, Melissa Atwell, the famous Melly Mel. You know, there's a lot being said on social media about what is happening to her. And so I want to give her a special shout out to Melly Mel this morning. We're standing with you. You're a woman of great courage and strength, and you continue to exemplify what a lot of people wouldn't want to do, speak out on issues that affects an entire nation, not just one person, but issues that affect an entire nation. We are confident, and I'm very confident because of the person you are, well educated, and definitely can speak on whatever is challenges you may have. We continue to stand with you, and we continue to keep you in our prayers. Don't be distracted, viewers, by what the PPP is out there to do. You know, they're out there to throw things around so that persons can be distracted. But let us stay focused. You know, anything with the government, there's a lot of lies that they peddle. So let us stay focused and pay attention to credible information that will come out on that particular issue that is ongoing or whatever is happening with Melly Mel. So again, shout out to you, Melly Mel. We're standing here with you and keeping you in our thoughts and prayers as you continue to tread each and every day on whatever challenges may come before you. I want to say a special shout out to the people of Tiger Bay yesterday. We visited that community and I met a group of special young people sitting there, walking among them, talking with them, and just looking at them really brought great joy and to my heart. You could put back up that picture, operator. In that photo, you would see a young lady there in her teens, very shy, but very strong footballer. You know, even as we were running the competition, the girls came and said, we would like to have our own game. And I was really, really excited for that. I met that young woman in that little, yeah, I think she's a teen too, in the pink top. She's also very brave, very talented footballer, serious striking legs to play the game. And then that little child, young girl that you see there, she's 7. She's also very talented, very smart, and was very excited to just be out there um, running around with us and engaging. And so I must commend her um, for being there. You know, as we have the ongoing issues in Guyana, I see my operator put up a picture here that I'll talk about a bit later. Um, that will be of importance when we come to sports. We see I saw during the week the news about Guyana again and the cocaine bus um, in Trinidad and Tobago, where authorities found over 400 pounds of cocaine on vessel from Guyana. This speaks volume, you know, when you listen to presentations in the parliament and the things that these ministers would say from time to time, you'd believe that you're in a country where we're not facing these challenges. But yet still, we can see a headline reading that 400 pounds of cocaine found on a vessel from Guyana. And of course, we know it's not nothing to do with a small man in the street, but those in authority should be able to give answers to such a find that we have there from our country. Very interesting development. And again, we as a nation need to continue paying attention and keeping ourselves informed of the many things that are happening on the ground, which should not be taken for granted. Then we have the old controversy of the new passport, which my comrade and party will have spoken about eloquently. On this Guyana new passport that carries the logo One Guyana inside of it. When I saw this, I was very, very upset to think that this administration will go so low or so far to put One Guyana in our national passport. And then you see the pictures that they have displayed here. Something is wrong with these people. This One Guyana concept that they're running with is no good for Guyana. We have a national motto. I will have made my comments during the week on this particular post, but I will speak a little on it this morning. We have our national motto that says we are one people, one nation, one destiny. What is wrong with our national motto? Why is it that the PPPC government is so bent on using this One Guyana slogan to put on our national documents? When you look at other passports around the world, you know the difference. You see the uniqueness in it. Now you come in to add or to put One Guyana. It's unacceptable. If you do your reading and your research, you see they got a One Guyana horse racing authority, which tells me that that's a different organization altogether. I recall when I have spoken early in the year, last year actually, with the children at the Inter-Guyana Games, where the uniform carried One Guyana instead of our national motto. And one sports commentator was saying that One Guyana represents the 3 Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, and Guyana here. And I told them that was inaccurate. Now we see this morning, and we see in the week, that these persons have now moved to a place of printing a Guyana passport, a national document with One Guyana on it. Come on, PPPC government, y'all need to get rid of that. That does not reflect our national heritage. We inherited, we have national symbols, we have a national motto, and that is what should be displayed on our national passport or any form of national identity that we have. One Guyana is a PPP slogan. One Guyana is a PPP slogan that speaks to their agenda. It does not speak to the agenda of representing this entire nation. And we see what is happening in this one Guyana, where people are marginalized, where people lose their jobs easily, where people cannot make decisions when they were rightfully would have gained their place in the position that they hold as a public servant, but they are carrying out ministerial instructions and dictates that does not represent the interests of all Guyanese. So we do not accept that foolishness on our national passports. Yeah, y'all have it removed. It needs to be removed. It is not acceptable. I would have seen many persons make comments that nothing is wrong with it. Something is definitely wrong with it. Because when you look at what is happening in this country, we know that something is wrong with that one Guyana sign and slogan that is placed on our national identification document as in the national passport, as well as when we send our athletes to represent Guyana. That is the slogan we're seeing when we have a national motto. We know that our national coat of arms is always placed on our uniforms or forms of identity and so forth. So why is it that we need to have the words One Guyana written or any form of slogan with One Guyana on it? No, we don't want that. And that is unacceptable. That should not happen, and we should not accept it as a nation. It is unacceptable. I have a video this morning also that I would like to share with you. I've been receiving complaints over and over again about incomplete roads work that have been done in several communities. Many of these roads, contractors would have moved in last year from as early as October, dig up areas, set up, well, I say they mark the name, put fawn boards down, and then they disappear. And so you have a case where the road has been left like that since October, November for some areas, and the contractors have not resurfaced. I don't know if they contract this particular road I'm going to highlight now. I was told this morning that the group of contractors turn up to begin work, but this is something that we continue to highlight because it's not only this one road, but there are several roads across the country, across my constituency, that is incomplete. And we're going from since October, November, December, January, February, March, 5 to 6 months. These roads have been dug up and left. And apparently it is falling on deaf ears. So when I played a video this morning, I hope all the other contractors who have ongoing works and have not returned to the area, and you know what's that? They don't communicate with the residents. The operators do. The residents are non-existent. They don't know. They're not supposed to be au fait or informed of what is happening on the ground, which they ought to, because if they're living in the area, they are the ones who have to traverse the area, and the respect must be given. It is unfair to have contractors just roll into an area. They don't send out a simple notice to say works will begin from this time to that time. This is how we'll be working. The project is expected to be completed at this time. So persons can make proper arrangements if they have their transportation, if they have a sick living in the home and they need to relocate the person for temporary reasons so that they can have proper access to their homes. It can only happen if they are properly informed. And that is the issue we continue to have with our contractors. Operator, could you play that video for me?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. This happens to be Morning Glory Street. This street was started, the work on this street was started in the month of November. That would have been of last year, 2024. with a contractor that gave this name as Junior. And after they've started the road and brought it to this stage, which I think they call the blinding or something like that, it has been left like this over the period of months. As I do this video, today being the 14th of March. All the farm boards are to the side of the parapets on both sides. All the stuff that they dug up and showed to the side of the road remain the same way. I will even show you a video. These are these farm boards blocking the entrance of all the residents. Nobody can drive into the yard any longer, and this has been going on since November of last year. Persons were parking on the other streets, but after being disgusted of the situations, they begin to bring in their vehicles, but can still not get it into the yards because of the farm boards, as you can see.
And that is just one highlight of the challenge that citizens continue to face when it comes to the poor implementation and completion of projects. Why is it that you have to wait 5 to 6 months just dig up and leave people area like that? So the entire Christmas season, people would have struggled. The new year was started, budget was read. We were already in the month of March, heading to April. And still many of these contractors did not return to have their works completed. And that is just one example. So we're going to continue to call on the authorities, the relevant authority, be it public works, that is supervising these roads, or if it is your region, to go into these communities and ensure that these roads are completed. My street has not been completed since last year also, Nelson Street, Mocha. To the end of that road, it's dug up and left. There's another set of streets that you find people just dug up and left it. And when you have the rain, of course, you know what you're having, your small pools. So it's even more difficult for persons to go in and out of their homes. So this is an issue that must be addressed, and we're calling on the relevant authorities to ensure that you complete your visits and have persons or the relevant contractors get busy and complete the work they have started. We cannot continue like that. Now, this morning, I want to spend a lot of my time talking about sports because of what I have seen taking place. We all know over 50-something years and counting, over 56 years and counting, we have the national schools cycling track and field championships that would usually take place between September and November each year. This year, there was a change. And the change that was made for the school term, they removed the sports, the championships, from September to November and bring it over to this term, January to April term, a term which has a lot of activities taking place. So I'm going to ask my operator to play the video that I would have made and circulated throughout the week. And then I will dive into some more information for persons to understand why it is important that we address this issue. After 9 years as a student athlete, 30 years as a physical education and sports teacher, and a teacher athlete, I now find myself absent from these hijacked nationals. With absolute dismay, I express my outrage at the blatant destruction of what has been an integral part of Guyanese culture. For decades, school sports have been held in the first term, allowing athletes to train adequately while teachers and districts planned well in advance. By June, championship dates are already set. Yet in September, we were abruptly informed that sports would be rescheduled to facilitate Guyana's Carifta Games selection. Why is the destruction of our culture so important to those in power? This year, there was no primary school championship, leaving young athletes who had been preparing diligently
without an opportunity to compete. The reasoning, the Carifta Games does not cater for that age group. This logic is flawed and short-sighted. Even the uniforms worn by some teams now reflect American basketball culture, with names like Lakers, Boston Celtics, and Rockets, further eroding our national identity. This decision blatantly disregards the development of grassroots athletics in our country. The January to April school term is already packed with critical activities, including matrimony competitions, the National Grade 6 assessment, and the start of CSEC exams practicals. Many of these athletes who would be competing at nationals are the same ones participating in matrimony competitions. Additionally, the teachers best suited to accompany these athletes are those specialized in physical education and sports, home economics, and other technical subjects, will be under immense pressure to complete grading and submissions of SBA grades. Why are we so once again sidelining athletes' motivation for the sake of optics? Forcing students and parents to choose between participating in matrimony, school sports, or focusing solely on academics reflects a lack of vision and respect for our cultural traditions. This decision weakens our national celebrations, stifles young talent, and shrinks the pool of athletes available for Carifta selection. Where in the world are athletes developed only in their teens? Athletic growth must begin at a young age, and disrupting this system will have lasting consequences. The national schools, athletics, swimming, and cycling championships must be restored to the first term. The Athletic Association of Guyana, AAG, must take full responsibility for organizing Carifta trials and selecting the team. The Ministry of Education should not be overstepping its role in this process. In government, we will ensure that this wrong is corrected immediately. I thank you.
And there you have it if you missed that presentation during the week. Now, we know, like I said, our tradition of having our sports in the first term. All the years it's been happening. There are persons who would have come up before to say that we need to change the time of our championship because of what is happening in the world. That is fine. But there are things that must be done in the right way, in a proper manner. You don't just walk into an area and just disrupt an entire setting that a country, people is accustomed to. That is what happened with this national championship. Teachers like myself, who have responsibility for sports, coordinating sports, always ensure we have access to facility or ground since June, because we know that there are a lot of schools. For example, in my district, there are 22 schools between the primary and secondary level and that has organized sports. And every other district, you will find a number of schools, and you have a limited access to grounds in these areas because many of the grounds are not well kept. And we know the famous grounds that are well kept would be the police ground, the Defense Force ground, the GDF ground. Some persons would use the cricket ground, be it border or DCC in that area. And so those grounds are the facilities that persons will have access to. In terms of schools that have access to grounds, I have part of a ground at my school, St. Joseph, but cannot run track events because it's not a 400-meter track, but you have QC that have a very large ground space that they can keep their sports there at any time. So you always have to be writing or seeking to get an area where you can conduct your sports. That's the first thing. The second thing, why was sports established that time? Or why is sports important? Not to think about right now the Carifta Games, but to think about why it is important that we have sports in the education system. We have to develop our skills and our young talents and so forth through that system. when you have inter-house sports, it helps to bring togetherness, people building team spirit among their fellow classmates in the education, in the school system, in the education system generally. When it comes to having the different levels of sports, be it you start from inter-house, so that's at home. Then from that, you pick your team and you go to the inter-schools championship where you reach other schools in your district and you have a competition. Friendships are formed, challenges are formed among each other. They're in competition. From that level, you would pick the zones team. You have into zones the next level. So after into schools, the best of the athletes from that level come together and form the zones team. So now you're working together from different schools to go and represent your specific zone. From the zone championships, the national team is selected. It is a process. People just didn't arrive there. Now we wipe out all of that. Some people had a little inter-house sports. Then they said they had some secondary school, whatever, but the primary school no longer compete. You know what's sad? When that happened, I know of primary school children who are into their running, their competition, whether it be running, whether it be throwing the cricket ball or whatever it is that they have to do, that would have spent their time preparing for sports. They would have done their training. Even if you want to bring a change in the system, why is it that no proper planning was done prior to teachers making arrangements to have things set so that students will be informed that when they're home, they don't have to spend time training and practicing during the summer and getting themselves prepared for sports in September because it has been changed. But that didn't happen. No forthcoming information came early to tell people about this change. So the primary school children who would have spent their time preparing, especially those in grade 6, and was looking forward to have their last year running and representing their school at the national championships, were deprived this school year, because somebody felt that it is time to move it. And again, there was no proper form of communication or discussion on this movement. Now, added to that, we have a championship. Operator, could you put up the picture with myself and the young men? Where you have this year championship, the Georgetown teams wore Boston Celtic uniform. That's me and my group of students who went to the championships. As you would see, they're wearing Boston Celtic uniform. If you look at the picture with the two young men, the picture with the young man with the dark blue and the green, white, and blue stripe, that is originally our uniform. That uniform is normally be locally prepared. The seamstress or whoever would sew these tracksuits and prepare these children clothes. That was removed. I can tell you that many of the athletes complain about the material used for these uniforms. They were not comfortable. Whether they like it or not, the students were not comfortable in those uniforms. So I don't know where they went to get these free uniforms. We're talking about the Guyana activity, a local activity. You're having a championship and the students are well dressed in American basketball uniforms and the names of the team. That is East Georgetown was Boston Celtics. The Lakers uniform was worn by North Georgetown district, which would normally use purple, but they have their own uniform. And then you have the Rockets that was worn by South Georgetown that would normally use gray. I don't know what the organizers could say about that. And the only reason that happened is because of how they operated. Our athletes needs to be respected. I couldn't go there with my students, but I had to turn up because I was called to go there. Because I am normally there to support and motivate my students or my athletes for my district because they're going to represent the district. And you made a change and have these students there The teachers who would normally go may not be able to go because in my case, I carry 3 exam classes. And if I'm taking 3 exam classes, I have to mark SBAs. I have to mark research paper for students. And this timing is definitely out because we have to ensure that we mark correct and submit the grades of students. We don't have anybody there marking and submitting SBAs for us. We have to do it ourselves. The teachers have to do it ourselves. We know all the years the GTU in collaboration with the Ministry of Education would run these championships. That was changed. And when you visit the venue, you see what the change was. The other issue that we had with the games, whether they like it or not, is the officiating that was done. I know trained officials, recognized officials were not on the field conducting some of these events. They were doing other things that was of no use to them and to help in the championship, which speaks volume as to why it was done at this particular time of the year. One of the alarming thing I saw, we have sponsors right through for the championship. We got some serious issues, social issues in this country. And even though you have all these sponsors, you got to see the flag that was up flying at the front of the championship. I don't know if they were the largest sponsors in the championship, but that speaks volume. It spoke a lot about what is important to the organizers of the competition, because the key people that should be there to run the championship or to be involved on the field, they were not involved on the field. I have a video to show that how the officials were not so attentive in running some of these events. And I'm quite sure they would be surprised. But the thing is, when I train my students or any student that I carry, any district student, we have them to understand what is expected when they're doing their throws and the measurements and all of that. So they're au fait with what is happening. Operator, could you play the video with the throws? What you would have noticed if you didn't sketch it, the official was standing and not standing correctly on the field. So when the child released the implement, the official had to jump out the way. And then turn around to find out where did the implement land. I've never seen that at any championship, really, because I know the officials know where to stand when the students are executing their throw. That's what I know. But you would have seen is in cases where the official is not paying attention or they fully understand what they're doing. And so when the child releases the implement, they have to jump out the way. And that speaks volume to organizing. And yet still I've seen a well-trained official doing other duties that is not related to being on the field. And those are some of the challenges you had at the games that they decide to run without using the people who have the know-how to conduct the events in a proper manner to avoid such distraction. It was very uncomfortable for the athlete when the official didn't know where the implement land. These are some of the things that persons would have encountered during the games. And again, it has to do with the manner in which things are being done. People are being sidelined for whatever reason, and we cannot allow politics to take over the sport, or else we can be in serious trouble. Sports supposed to unite people, not divide people. And what we've seen taking place in the last couple of days that they have is it's an effort to divide people. What happened to the Teachers' Championship? You know, the motivation. I always recall as a teacher in college, the lecturer reminding us that the hidden curriculum speaks more than what you teach on the chalkboard. The hidden curriculum is the things that the teacher would actually do that can motivate the students. So whilst you're teaching, a child may be observing something, the way Miss dressed, the way Miss spoke to the class, and all these different things. It carries its own message. When you have sports and the teachers are actively involved in competition, it serves as a form of motivation for athletes. In Guyana case, apparently teachers are not important to motivate students. So they don't care what time of the year you run the championship. They didn't take into consideration the possibility of what could happen. If you want to move the championship, there are things you have to do. We have grade 6 assessments in this term, which is customary. Are you going to tell the grade 6 students to leave their books to go and compete at sports? Secondly, we have CSEC and CAPE exams that begins this term. Practicals actually start for home economics. You got practical in physical education and sport, orals for Spanish. All that will be coming up shortly. Are you going to tell these students, oh, we have championship now, give up your studies to go and compete? I don't think parents are that crazy. And any right teacher is not crazy to do that. So people have to sit down and properly plan and strategize. What you have control of, that's what you have to take charge of. We also have Mashramani celebrations. In this term, most time you find, and I can tell you over the years, a child who is running, jumping, or throwing, most likely will be the child who would want to take part in Mashramani, be it dancing, be it physical display. You would find the same set of students want to be involved in Mashramani. So why are we crowding our students or putting them under unnecessary pressure to compete in this championship? We know that there's an athletic association of Guyana that deals with the preparation of the athletic team for athletic competition at the regional or international level. We know that there's supposed to be CURIFTA trials. And based on my understanding, CURIFTA trials is not only for students who are in the classroom. It is an opportunity for students who may not be in the classroom, but out there and have the age and probably in training or have the interest in going to run to take part in the championship. So when you have a CURIFTA trials, you would have those individuals, those athletes who are not in the school system but have the age and can compete in on the 100 meter or something, as well as those athletes who you have in the school system that you would have selected from based on their performance at the National Schools Championship to take part in the CURIFTA trials so that you could have a strong team to represent the country. Unless there is some change that they're not thinking about athletes who are not in the school system, then something might be wrong, because there are some children who might finish school at the age of 15. There are children who might finish high school at the age of 16. And those students can very well compete in the under 17 age group. And so why would we want to deprive children or young people who are not actively in the school system an opportunity to go out and do the trials for the CURIFTA Games? So I'm looking forward to see when there will be CURIFTA trials to select the team that will go to represent Guyana at the championships, because the entity have their work to do. So the school have their role to play in providing opportunities for children to have their competitions at a different level. And after they've completed that, you have those who will take part in the CURIFTA trials under the guidance of the Athletic Association of Guyana. That's how I know it functions. But what we're seeing, like there's some move or attempts to not have the AAG perform their role and function with what we're seeing now. So the logic doesn't add up, and we need to have that fixed because our children need exposure to sports. They talk about physical education and sports in school. It's not only when you decide to send somebody to teach them a game, it's supposed to be all round, and athletics is a part of it. So why are we trying to remove that? We've always had crafted trials in this term, and the persons who are into the sports, I know of athletes who, under my guidance in the school system, they're not athletes who go to club, but they were able to make the Carifta team. They were able to compete. I remember when we used to have, I don't know if they still do, the CUT championship, that the children would prepare for each year. So why is it that we're trying to destroy our culture? Why is it that there's no proper dialogue and conversation on these issues? It makes no sense that person put their head in the sand and believe that it's going to work out differently. The children have to take into account, and parents, the academics of their children. Because at the end of the day, they will use that to help them to move forward. I have students who wanted to be, or they had qualified for the nationals, but they couldn't be there because they play another sport and the competition is on, and so they have to compete in the competition. Like how we have the under-21 hockey team that was in Barbados competing in the junior hockey tournament. I am quite sure there are students there. I have students there who made the national teams, but because of their participation at that level, they could not be at this championship that they recently had. And so we have to be fair, we have to be factual. When we're talking about the development of sports, it's to ensure that it is all round, it is ensure that it is fair, and it is important that you engage people on these issues. We have a lot of people who really don't be involved, or they really know, they don't understand the importance of motivation for athletes. So when they run their plan, they didn't stop to think, engage, discuss, so that these things can happen in a safe space. We want to see the development of our athletes across the country. And there's simple things that we do to make it so difficult for them. When an athlete leaves Guyana and have to go and sleep on the ground or some rundown building, that's a motivation. Or they don't have proper food to eat, that's not motivation. Or they leave here with some uniform that's scratching the skin because of the material that they make the clothes with. That cannot serve as motivation. And if we are talking about sports development, we have to take all of these things into consideration so that we can ensure that our athletes are comfortable, they are motivated, they're excited to represent the nation, to represent the event that they love, because they are comfortable. So I'm calling again on the relevant authorities to have this corrected. It makes no sense. There are things, the school sports are important at the school's level. Why are we running away from that? The AAG have their role to play when it comes to our athletes and having them prepared for certain championships. So let's have the agencies perform their roles and their functions so that our athletes can be comfortable and motivated to represent this nation at any level. I must commend our athletes who, amidst all the challenges, I always say, amidst all the challenges, they do well in representing Guyana. Many of them go through struggles. Some of them got to go to work and then go to compete. Some of them, sometimes they don't have the passage to reach the training ground, but they still do it. Family sacrifice, and so they're able to do it. And whatever the authorities are supposed to do to help these athletes, we're supposed to ensure that it is done to motivate and encourage them. Before I close, I have two quick announcements. So I'm going to ask the operator to play the first video on the bingo.
Guyana, all roads lead to Congress Place of Fire on Sunday, March 23rd for the BNCR Big Fundraising Bingo. 3 coverall games at $1 million per game. 3 letter games at $200,000 per game. There will be 20 straight games at $100,000 per game. $6,000 gets you 6 tickets that cover all of the games. Remember, Sunday, March 23rd, all road leads to Congress Place of Fire for the BNCR Big Fundraising Bingo.
Bingo's lovers, take notice on the 23rd, there is a bingo taking place at Congress Place. You know, we need to remind ourselves as we prepare for elections and what we can expect from us in government. And so I have a video there of the leaders speaking, and so I'll play that.
The PNCR APNU, as the next government, will guarantee all households a livable income every month, regardless of their size and composition. We will, for example, more than double pension from 41,000 to 100,000 per month. We will raise public sector salary by up to 35% and ban the payment of income tax for all employees and self-employees earning 400,000 per month and less. We will provide rent and mortgage assistance and subsidize utilities, among other initiatives. These benefits will be regular, predictable, and distributed without chaos. They will amount to more than 100,000 per month.
A livable wage and making the right choice come the next regional and general elections. We need to continue to educate each other. We need to continue to empower each other and be reminded that we should not allow ourselves to be mentally enslaved all the time. So in closing, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in this morning. It's always a privilege to share with you. And I will close this morning by using the quote, growth is painful, change is painful, but nothing is as painful as remaining mentally enslaved. Do enjoy the rest of your day, and God bless all of you. Goodbye.